Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your daily talk called Help, I Need a Grown Up. So yesterday I was referencing calling upon a wise, caring caregiver, or a wise, loving caregiver, rather than being a whiny toddler or a rebellious teenager. And this is where that information is coming from. So we are now, 2 weeks into our program, 3 if you count the preparation week, and you might be feeling a little bit like, I don't really want to do this. You're trying to make better choices. You're looking at the continuum, like what's going to be the best choice here rather than the worst choice. Maybe you're tracking your macronutrients and the nuance of that has worn out. You're following the 5 habits, but you're sick of eating 80% full. You just want to stuff your face and you want to feel full because, you don't like being told what to do. And, that's totally normal because, I'm guiding you and I'm telling you some things and I'm encouraging you to do certain things. But sometimes you just feel like a brat and you want to rebel or you want to whine about it. And that's okay. You're trying to adjust to your new normal and change your eating habits. And that's a very hard thing to do, right? Change is hard in and of itself. Changing your eating habits is one of the hardest things that you can do. I would say it's about just as hard as trying to quit smoking because food serves so many purposes for us. Yes, it fills us up and it nourishes us, but it also makes us feel really good. So it brings up emotions, and there's a lot of emotions tied to food. So today I want to ask you, what is your same old story when it comes to getting healthy, maybe going on a diet or trying to just improve yourself in general? So oftentimes we have a story in our brains about the way things, quote unquote, should go or how things have gone in the past. So the story could go like this. I'm going to give you 6 scenarios. In order to lose weight or be healthy, I have to deprive myself. This deprivation should be very, very strict, and I have to make a lot of rules. These rules are going to be all or nothing rules, and if I break the rules even just a little bit, then I'm bad and I've gone off plan. Once I am off plan, then just screw it. I can eat whatever I want. I feel awful. I'm weak. I probably need more rules. And then finally, in order to lose weight and be healthy, I must deprive myself further. So you see, this goes hand in hand with curing the weekenditis situation. We don't need more rules. But that's what we tell ourselves oftentimes. That's a very familiar script and story that we tell ourselves. And it's a lousy story because it's not right. It's not a true story. Deprivation, restriction, and food rules seem like they should work, but they don't. And there's a lot of reasons why. First of all, you cannot bully or belittle anyone into changing, including yourself. Being extra strict and self-blaming or seeking deprivation just does not work. That's basically you trying to bully your body. Our bodies are evolved mechanisms to prevent starvation. These mechanisms are going to shape our thoughts and our feelings. So when you deprive yourself and you get really hungry, there's a reason you're hungry, right? Your body is telling you, I need to eat. And then finally, underlying this behavior, this deprivation behavior, is an assumption that I am deprived. So I can rebel and treat myself with eating forbidden foods. And it's this whole vicious cycle. I've got a great graphic here. I kind of touched on it yesterday. But at the top of the circle, we have a diet. And then we have a carb craving. And then we binge on the carb that we're craving so bad because we're depriving ourselves. And then we have weight gain because we binge. Then we have increased in guilt and anxiety about fatness. And then maybe we purge ourselves or starve ourselves or exercise more and binge or purge that way. And then we have more guilt and self-dislike. And then we increase our resolve to diet with more rules. Diet, carb cravings, binging, weight gain, guilt, purging, guilt, increased resolve to eat. It's terrible and it's never ending because it's a cycle that goes like this. How do we get off of this cycle? So if you focus on all or nothing or deprivation oriented thoughts, such as I can never eat carbs or all carbs are bad, you're more than likely to see carbs as this proverbial forbidden fruit. Your inner child is going to throw a rebellious tantrum, and you might find yourself defiantly reaching for the candy dish. But how is that story working for you, right? It's not working. So we need to try the opposite. Instead of listening to that whiny toddler, we need to listen to our inner adult. So in addition to the toddler and the rebellious teenager, we have an inner grown-up in our brain. This is the part of our brain that solves problems, that understands cause and effect, and thinks about long-term consequences and acts like a good parent. So just like any good caregiver knows when a child needs a nap or is cranky and is overstimulated after a long day of activities, your grown-up brain can recognize, calm, and comfort your kid brain. So let's try and have an opposite day story. The next time you catch yourself thinking, you know what, screw it, screw this program, I'm eating cake, I don't even care, macros, whatever, 5 habits, whatever, I'm going to eat this cake and you're not going to stop me. But then pause for a second and tap into that wise inner caregiver, the one that understands cause and effect, and ask yourself, seriously, stop and ask yourself, how old am I right now? How old am I? In other words, am I feeling like a toddler who wants a treat or a rebellious teenager? And then finally, what would my wise inner caregiver say right now? My guess is that your wise inner caregiver would be kind, loving, and compassionate, but also honest and firm, right? Sometimes we have to call ourselves on our own bullshit. She would not let you over restrict, but she's also not going to let you get away with that bullshit. So what you have to start doing is, what she's going to do is help you overcome and break this chain. I'm also going to post a behavior awareness worksheet, which I have posted a couple of times. Start writing yourself a new grown-up story. And it's going to start like this. It's a story without any harsh rules or punishments. It's a story that is full of love, wisdom, and compassion. And it's a story where you sense into what your body wants and needs rather than relying on rules. So you'll notice like the five habits are guidelines. They are not harsh, strict rules. They're simply things that are good to do with each meal. They're not saying don't eat this, don't do that. We want to focus on more of the good stuff. So write yourself a story that takes you where you want to go, following that gentle guidance of your own wise inner parent. So here's what I want you to do today. And I'll type this up in the comments. But review your same old stories about food, eating, your body, what fitness is supposed to be. Like, do you have to murder yourself every day in the gym in order to get a good workout? Do you have to be drenched in sweat in order to prove that you had a great workout? Which, by the way, you don't. Sweat just means you are hot. How do you think things should work? Do you expect to be deprived? Do you think that you have to have rules and stringent plans? Do you think you have to deny yourself of certain foods and then you end up rebounding later? Are you one of those all or nothing people? What is your inner dialogue? Is that voice? Is your voice a whiny toddler or a rebellious teenager? Do you criticize yourself harshly? And if you wrote down this, my friends, listen to this. If you wrote down what your inner voice was saying, would you let that voice anywhere near your child? That should be an eye-opener for a lot of us. Listen to the way you're talking to yourself, and would you talk that way, speak that way to your own child? Now capture these stories and review them and write down, what are your thoughts and scripts about food, eating, and your body? Then read them or, type them out and hear it back. Seeing your thoughts in writing and hearing them out loud can be very powerful. Like, I'll be honest with you guys. I hopped on a video the other day. This is the first thing that I said to myself. Oh my God, your face looks so fat. What? Not okay. And then I said it out loud. I seriously did this. And I was like, stop. Change that thought right now, because I don't need to hear that. And you don't need to hear whatever negative thoughts you're telling yourself either. You're fine. Wherever you are, you're fine. We need to speak for ourselves a little bit more compassion than, oh my gosh, your face looks so fat today. So hearing those things out loud can be very, very powerful. And now that you see your stories or you know what your inner voice is saying, test your stories and your inner voice assumptions. So are these stories actually true? Are they true all the time? And how do you know those stories are true? How is that story working for you? Is it propelling you forward? Is it moving you where you want to go? Or is it holding you back and making you feel worse about yourself? What is working well and why? What is not working well and why? And then finally, which of your stories and scripts need to change and why? So it's time that we start to call on our wise inner caregiver. And, think about this. Think about like a mean stepmother who is, constantly being overly strict and telling her daughter that she can't do anything, or her stepdaughter that she can't do anything. But then also think about that mom that doesn't care at all. We don't want to be overly strict, and we don't want to be the mom or the dad that doesn't care at all either. We want to find that nice middle ground. That, that woman or that person, that parent that's going to help us make thoughtful and responsible choices. Choices that, we've considered all of the consequences, the long-term consequences, and we're not just looking for that, instant gratification. So some things to think about. I'll type these questions up at the top in case you are catching the end of this video. But this is really powerful, and at the very, very least, I want you to think about what you are saying to yourself, and would you let that voice in your head anywhere near your child? Food for thought. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Looking forward to see your macro screenshots tonight for those of you tracking, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.